Hello wonderful person, welcome back to Stories Quick. Today I will explain a sci-fi horror movie titled Splice. In the movie, geneticists Clive and Elsa specialize in creating hybrids of species. When they propose the use of human DNA, their pharmaceutical company bosses forbid it, forcing them to conduct experiments in secret. The result is Dren, a creature with amazing intelligence and physical attributes. At first, Dren exceeds their wildest dreams, but as she begins to grow at an accelerated rate, she threatens to become their worst nightmare. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy. The movie begins with a biologist couple, Clive and Elsa, as they work on a project to splice the DNA of different animals so they can create hybrids for medical uses. After years of hard work at their lab called Nerd Nucleic Exchange Research and Development, they eventually manage to produce two worm-like organisms named Ginger and Fred. After their successful mating, the couple plans to move a step ahead and produce a human-animal hybrid, hoping to cure many genetic diseases. As they discuss the plan with one of the employers, Barlow, he instantly dislikes the idea and orders them not to proceed further, as it can harm the already struggling lab's reputation. Later on, Clive and Elsa give a detailed briefing to the owner, Joan Corrott, mentioning that Fred and Ginger are capable of producing a protein that can be used to cure diseases in livestock. Despite Barlow's concerns, they also share their idea of splicing human DNA with an animal. She admires their hard work, but instructs them to concentrate on extracting the animal protein so they can come up with a viable product to satisfy the stakeholders, or they would have to shut down the lab facilities. After the unsuccessful meeting, the frustrated couple also discusses the possibility of quitting and moving to another lab. But they have to drop the idea because Nerd owns most of their patents. Despite getting a negative response from the employers, Clive and Elsa secretly continue to work on the project. Fearing this might lead them into big trouble, Clive warns Elsa about the consequences, but she persuades him by assuring him that they will terminate the hybrid before it reaches its full form. Realizing he is still reluctant, Elsa convinces him by implying that if they succeed in creating a functional embryo, it can be a medical breakthrough, and they can bring hope to many people suffering from fatal diseases. After listening to her, Clive hesitantly agrees, and they inject the sample into an artificial ovum. As they wait for the results, Clive's brother Gavin, who has been instructed to take care of Ginger and Fred, inquires him about their secret little experiment, but Clive dodges his question as they don't want to reveal any details before reaching a conclusion. Upon returning home from work, the couple spends some time together and discusses whether they should move to a new place. Clive brings up the topic of having kids, but Elsa changes the subject by saying she is not yet ready to bear the responsibility. While talking to each other, they get an emergency call from the lab informing them about an unexpected anomaly in the embryo. They rush to the lab, where they find out that the embryo has shown exponential growth and has developed into a fetus. After failing to find anyone for their help, Elsa decides to manually get it out, but it grabs her hand. Panicked, Clive rescues her, but they are shocked to see an unfamiliar female creature as it jumps out of the container. Although the couple manages to restrain her, they realize their mistake of going too far, but it's too late. Disturbed by the situation, Clive intends to kill her, but Elsa once again convinces him to let her live. As they arrive in the lab on the following day, the creature, which they have named H50, appears to be dead. Feeling relieved, Clive leaves to make some arrangements to dispose of the body, but as soon as he gets out of the lab, H50 jumps on Elsa. Although hurt, Elsa perceives that the creature is afraid of them, so she tries to comfort her, but Clive intervenes and drags her out of the lab. After having a heated argument about what to do next, they decide to knock her unconscious and run some tests to understand her genetic makeup. After finding out that H50 is aging way too fast, Elsa suggests taking advantage of the situation and learning her life cycle, as it would only take days before she dies anyways. After deciding to keep her alive and go on with the experiment, the couple hides H50 in the lab so no one can find out about her. Initially, they find it difficult to determine her feeding habits, but soon figure out that she craves high sucrose food as she starts chewing some tablets. Elsa starts taking care of her, whereas Barlow continues to pressurize Clive to come up with a viable product and keep the lab functional. H50 continues to grow at a rapid rate and develops multiple organs, along with showing signs of high intelligence. With time, Elsa develops a strong bond with H50. Once, she spells out nerd after reading the acronym on Elsa's shirt. So Elsa gives her the name Dren. At this point, Clive once again shares his concerns about Dren and advises Elsa to keep her in her container, but Elsa thinks they should move Dren somewhere else so they can easily study her developmental behaviors. As they are having an intense discussion about Dren's future, Gavin overhears them, but Dren jumps on him. Although she follows Elsa's orders of getting away from him, the unpleasant encounter makes Elsa realize that they should do something about Dren. As they move her to the storage room, Clive shares his fear that their secret adventure might get them into jail. On the other hand, Elsa does not seem to care about anything, as she thinks they have created a miracle, and everyone will applaud them after learning about Dren. Soon after, Dren falls sick, so the couple plans to give her a cold bath in a sink. Still nervous about their decision of keeping Dren, Clive tries to drown her, which forces Dren to use her gills and showcase her amphibian capabilities. After her condition gets stable, the couple takes Dren home, where Elsa shares her childhood toys with her before putting her to sleep. In the next publicizing presentation, Joan introduces Ginger and Fred to the audience before crediting Clive and Elsa for their efforts. Elsa briefs everyone about the project, but things take a drastic turn when the hybrids start fighting and eventually kill each other. After the horrific incident, Clive and Elsa appear in front of the panel to justify the situation. Clive suspects that Ginger went through some hormonal changes which turned him into a male, which they could not notice as they were busy with Dren. After they fail to justify the mishap, Barlow and Joan order them to come up with a way to extract the medicinal protein from Ginger and Fred's samples. Once the meeting concludes, Gavin, Clive and Elsa discuss that they should move Dren to her childhood farm. Upon reaching the farm, Dren flees into the wild, but Clive and Elsa soon find her feeding on a rabbit and proving her carnivorous instincts. Elsa takes her back into the barn and warns her not to run off again. Worried about Dren's unexpected behavioral changes, Elsa suggests taking her inside the house, but Clive disagrees, thinking it might alert someone in the neighborhood. Thinking Dren is afraid of the surroundings, Clive suggests giving her some time to adjust, which Elsa accepts. The next day, Clive and Elsa resume work in the lab, whereas Dren spends time playing with a cat. Upon returning to the farm, Elsa prepares dinner for Dren, but she refuses to eat and requests them to let her go outside instead. As Elsa declines her appeal, enraged Dren trashes down the place before breaking out of the room. Clive and Elsa follow her to the roof when they find out that she has developed retractable wings and is capable of flying. Dren intends to leave, but changes her mind after Clive assures her of their love and support. Gradually, Dren grows into an adolescent. One day, Elsa gives her a makeover when she discovers that Dren has been drawing their pictures. Excited, Dren also shows Elsa her cat, but Elsa forcibly takes it away from her. The following day, as is taking a nap, Clive gets to the barn where he and Dren spend time dancing together. While teaching her different steps, Clive gets attracted to her but quickly snaps himself out. The encounter makes him realize something about Dren's DNA. Upon rejoining Elsa inside the house, Clive confronts her for using her own DNA in creating Dren, although she claimed to use one from an anonymous donor. After he angrily leaves the farm, Elsa goes back to the barn and returns the cat to Dren, but she instantly kills it by using a stinger in her tail. Furious, Dren also jumps on Elsa, intending to attack her but retreats. Elsa gets afraid of her violent behavior and knocks her unconscious. She then roughly chains Dren and amputates her tail to avoid any further accidents. At the same time, Clive, who has just arrived outside, hears Dren screaming and rushes to the farm, where he learns about Elsa's cruel act. Clive gets mad at her, but Elsa changes the topic. She informs him that they could not extract the protein from Ginger and Fred's samples because their tissues have been dead long enough. She further suggests using Dren's samples for extraction and goes back to the lab. Clive turns to Dren and tries to comfort her by apologizing for Elsa's behavior. Elsa resumes protein extraction at the lab, where Barlow once again questions her about the progress. Although offended by his rude conduct, Elsa reveals that she has already extracted the protein which they can use to create drugs. Meanwhile, Clive takes Dren to the barn, where she uses her pheromones to seduce him, and they make out, but Elsa walks in on them. Clive tries to justify his actions, but Elsa storms out without listening to any excuse. After a while, Clive returns to the apartment, where he and Elsa get into a fight, as they blame each other for not drawing the line between right and wrong. Clive confronts her by stating that Elsa did not want a normal child earlier because she was afraid of losing control. After things cool down, Elsa regrets maiming Dren, and the couple drives back to the farm, where they find seriously ill Dren. Soon, Dren dies and they bury her behind the farm. As they intend to go back inside, Barlow arrives with Gavin, who has filled him in on the experiment. The couple starts scolding him for not keeping their secret, but Barlow reveals he learned about Dren after finding human DNA in the protein Elsa handed over earlier. When Barlow demands to see Dren, Elsa tells him about her death, but he does not believe her, thinking they are intentionally trying to hide Dren from him. While they are fighting with each other, Dren digs herself out of her grave and kills Barlow before attacking Gavin. Concerned about his brother, Clive tries to follow Dren, but Elsa pleads to him that Gavin might be dead by now, so they should run for their lives instead. While running through the woods, Clive's searchlight drops into the nearby lake. Despite Elsa trying to stop him, he attempts to retrieve the light when Dren emerges from the water and pulls him down. Thinking that he has drowned in the lake, Elsa starts crying for him, but Clive resurfaces from the water and she pulls him out. Dren, who has metamorphosed into a male, re-emerges from the water and starts chasing Elsa. As she wraps her, Clive regains consciousness and stabs Dren in the back, but she soon overpowers him. Elsa intends to crush Dren with a rock, but hesitates, which results in Dren killing Clive. In return, Elsa kills Dren before falling unconscious. In the office building, Joan informs pregnant Elsa that they found many unusual biochemicals in Dren's samples. The company plans to patent them, so Joan offers Elsa a contract to distance herself from the project. Hoping to use the money in going through her pregnancy, Elsa accepts the payment as they both look out through the office window.